Hey everybody, welcome to Grilling at the Green. I am JT, and we are a big part of the Golf News Network and other podcast platforms, along with an sundry of radio stations here in the West Coast and in the middle states, I would say. Before we bring our guest on, who's been on the show several times before, this is where I normally tell you about birdie ball, right? And I tell you about they make these great practice putting greens and the limited flight. They look like napkin rings, but they're for limited space, limited flight practice. They're great. But they just got awarded just a couple days ago, actually, in Colorado as the 2026 Business to Watch. John Breaker, the CEO and owner of that company, sent me a text with the pictures and a little write up. We'll talk more about that later in upcoming shows. But congratulations to all the folks at Birdie Ball, John and his wife and his sons and daughters back there, winning the big prize in Colorado this year. All right. So, Sean Lanyi, friend of the show, been on here many times in the past. Busy guy. Today he's coming to us live and downtown from the Trails Inn Golf Center in Oregon City, Oregon. I used to live out in that neck of the woods. I drove by it all the time. Sean, welcome.
Hey, Jeff, thanks for having me.
Yeah, no problem. It's always good to see you, man. So the golf business has changed. It's in a, it's not, I'm not going to say it's in a state of flux. I'm just going to say it's in a state of growth,
Oh, yeah.
and it's everything is happening. And so tell us about what you're doing now to
Right.
kind of give us a baseline to work with here, because you've made changes too.
Yeah. So I left Langdon Farms in September of 2025. And, really the focus was to move all my focus towards the golf lab, or 18 shots, now we call it, at Trails and Golf Center in Oregon City.
Hmm.
This facility is unique. They've got an indoor outdoor driving range with Top Tracer bays. Top Tracer is a technology similar to Top Golf.
Right.
But they have this unique technology that is on each and every bay. And then we're building a short game concept, short game green. We have grass tees that are in exceptional condition. The golf ball quality is getting better by the day. And then my business is the 18 shots concept, which is an indoor golf training concept. We've got a big, massive putting green. We've got an indoor simulator with Foresight technologies, supported by all the ground reaction force technologies, with all the bells and whistles that I have that I utilize with my players. So it's a unique spot. It's the place that I'll call home. When I'm in the Pacific Northwest, I'm going to focus on bringing my players to this facility because I've got everything at my expense to help my players get better at all aspects of the game. So I'm really pleased to be able to support the efforts that we have here at this unique facility. I've never actually been at a driving range too, so I've always
Yeah.
worked at a green grass property. So not having access to a golf course is it's unique, and so we have all these different practice components, and what it does, it allows me to get a little bit more creative with setting up. Uh, Players for success so they can take the new skill set, but they can learn how to compete with it.
So, and you're not just limited to Oregon City though. You still travel around to other courses. I saw the list, and you
Yeah.
Hawaii, Vegas, Southern California, all that. You've always had connections with various courses there.
Yeah. So ironically, this afternoon I leave for Alaska. It's my second coaching trip up to Anchorage, where I'm actually supporting Mulligan's. Mulligan's is an indoor training facility. It has four TrackMan bays. Super unique concept. Fresh new clientele that one of my business partners, he's basically handed me the golden ticket and said, "Hey, I want you to be my director of instruction." So I'm the first golf professional that has access to teaching his members, his students up in Anchorage. Thursday night, I'll fly down to Studio Golf in Manhattan Beach, and I'll teach for 2 days down in Manhattan Beach, and then I'll come back to Trails End on Sunday and finish up the week, pick up my son, and enjoy a nice week with July 4th coming right around the corner.
There you go. There
Yeah,
you go. Yeah, it's God, time flies, doesn't it?
yeah.
It's just crazy. Yeah, our second tournament in the North Valley Challenge is Monday the 29th over at Tualatin Country Club. And you've been one of my supporters in that endeavor for a while
Yeah,
now, and I
that's good.
appreciate that. So, but it just flies by.
Yeah, no, it really does. The those events, we're happy to help. Any way we can support you, Jeff, on the smallest token that we can, always willing to do that.
Yeah, and like I said, Sean, it's always appreciated. How is teaching changed since you got into it? You're a Class A PGA teaching professional. You've got all the creds, you've got all that, but just even in the last, say, 10 years, teaching has changed.
Yeah.
The methodology, the swing breakdown. We don't tend to get too far off in the weeds on this show in swing breakdown stuff. Once in a while we do, and we probably will today with you. But even that has changed. Give us your overview on that.
Yeah, I mean, I became a Class A in 2005, which that's 21 years. So I guess when I look back, just being able to take all the information that is available out there when you're so fresh and so new, you can pretty much throw anything at a player and guess at what they might need, and hopefully it helps. But in reality, that's like the worst way to help a player, is just to throw something at them because you read it or you saw it on YouTube, or you saw Wyndham Clark using a training aid with an alignment stick. So guess what? I'm gonna have all my players start doing this. So to answer your question, 10 years ago, I think that's probably when I started becoming more of a confident decision maker and a confident coach. So I can give the player exactly what they need that's relevant to what they struggle with. So, you know, over the course of time, when it's a full swing player that I'm helping, and they've got a big slice, or they've got a pull slice, or they're topping or slicing the ball in a out of control fashion, you still have to go back to like the initial root cause. Why are those problems happening? If the player has one specific ball flight that they struggle with, then you go back to the understanding of ball flight laws and understanding path and face and the relationship between the two. And that's when you start attacking and finding the root cause. Why is the player experiencing these exact misses, these mistakes? And I think if a coach can look at all of the ball flights that are out there, that particular coach is going to be able to give them the exact recipe for change and improvement. And at the end of the day, we're in a result oriented business. So if
Sure.
their results get better, the player gets better, they're going to tell their friends. Next thing you know, that coach that gave them the right type of guidance and feedback is going to get rewarded for that. And I feel like I've done that over the years, not just from the full swing perspective, but putting and short game, and the things that I've put together, the golf experience business that I have. I just launched another golf school at Gamble Sands Resort. I just launched a additional golf school at Turtle Bay Resort on Oahu. So I'm kind of branching out to some of these contacts and these facilities that I have, because more people want to spend not just an hour a week, but they want to spend 2 full days really diving deep into game improvement and significant game improvement. So that's kind of the fun part. But really, it's there's so many systems out there, and there's so many different ways to teach, but it all goes back to just understanding the player that we have in front of us, and understanding their tendencies, understanding what they do under pressure when they're playing pressure golf. And if a player understands tendencies, then they can control the outcome. They have to understand troubleshooting. They have to understand problem solving, and so that's kind of where I feel like it's gone. And it's taken the toll of 21 years to get to a point of being confident in what I do, but more importantly, continuing to strive to push myself to continue to learn and learn from others, and bring others around me that are going to be more knowledgeable, that can help me maybe understand how to communicate or better articulate a concept or key component about a golf swing or a putting stroke. So,
Sure.
yeah, it hasn't certainly happened overnight. I still remember my first client, Cliff Moss. I know he's probably in his late 80s right now, but I probably owed him some money back after my first lesson that I gave him, because I definitely threw the kitchen sink at him, and I hit him with everything that I knew about the golf swing, whether that was right or wrong. But I know that I learned so much from that experience. So that's the fun part, is being able to kind of take the good with the bad and continue to push yourself to a new level.
There you go. We're going to take a break. We're going to be back with Sean Lanyi here on Grilling at the Green on Golf News Net, other platforms and stations all the way around. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Grilling at the Green. I'm JT. Today we're talking with Sean Lanyi. He's got 18 shots. He's just got a lot of stuff all the time. But before we jump back in with Sean, I want to talk to you about Snell Golf. They've got their new balls, just came out about a month ago, the PR3 and the PR4. I've played with both of them. They sent me some. I'm spoiled that way. And they were great. The feel on the ball, for me, the PR3 was the better of the two, and they're both really top line balls. Go to snellgolf.com and you can see all the research and stuff on them there. And they're a lot cheaper than, going to a big retailer. Nothing against big retailers, but they're tour quality balls at a direct to consumer price. Go to snellgolf.com. Okay, let's get back and talk some more with Sean. So you were touching on stuff right at the end of the first segment there, Sean. Do you think that sometimes you were talking about overload and you talked about your first lesson and you threw the kitchen sink at that guy? I've had people that I played golf with, and I play, as you know, in a lot of these charity tournaments and stuff. And so you're sitting there afterwards and you're having lunch and you're waiting for the awards and everybody's yakking and having a good time. And, you know, the past year, I've probably had more comments from people at my table, if you will, that say, I like that guy. And they're not talking about you. I'm just that I like that guy. I think he's a good teacher, but he just throws so much at me. I really can't assimilate all of that at
Yeah.
one time. And some of those people are like, I think I'm done with golf lessons for a while.
Yeah. I think that's a common assessment of how people feel about coaching and golf instruction when they do experience, whether it's a new coach or it's a experienced coach, and they are just filling that student up with just pure knowledge and wisdom and information. And
Yeah.
honestly, that's what I was alluding to. Like, the coach has to give that player the exact recipe that's relevant, and the information that's relevant to the real reason why that player struggles with a certain skill. I mean, if we take a player who's not a good bunker player, okay, what happens with contact? Do we hit too little sand, too much sand? Is the club bottoming out too far behind the ball? Is the club not bottoming out and the club is
Right.
bottoming out at the ball?
Right.
There's a lot of things that set the player up for success when they learn how to set up to a bunker shot better to allow the club to bottom out under the ball, a little bit before the golf ball. And again, it's just the coach giving the player just enough information to really take off and understand how to apply it, which is, I think, the big goal that we're trying to do. We're not
Sure.
trying to turn a amateur golfer into a tour level player in one lesson. It's just not digestible.
Right.
So your buddies that say that and they're on the fence, they've had maybe good experiences with good personalities and guys that or gals that know a bunch of information about golf and coaching and all that. But it does take some discipline to be a great coach, to give just what the player needs and not overstep that line where the player now has too much information and they're mentally kind of discombobulated.
Can you do workarounds when I'm over 65? Okay. And sometimes your body does not cooperate.
Right.
Even when you were 25, sometimes your body doesn't cooperate, right?
Right.
And when you get older and you live through life and maybe you had injuries or whatever, it doesn't matter. But my thought is there's always got to be workarounds to a degree to help that player if they do have some sort of physical limitation. Maybe they can only get, like in my case, maybe they can only get instead of, 45-degree rotation, I'm just making up numbers. Maybe I can
Yeah.
only get 35.
Right.
Okay. Because it just doesn't work anymore. It's just not that elastic and flexible.
Yeah.
But I think some of the experiences I've had have said, no, this is the only way you got to do this. This
Right.
is, and then I've had other people tell me that I played golf with, and some of them are teachers
Right.
say, no, I can fix that for you. I can get you to rotate like that. And it's like, it's welded shut back there.
Yeah.
So
Well, I think when you go down that road of saying like workarounds, it's also like the phrase essentially that you always used to hear. It's a quick fix.
yeah,
So quick fix teachers. Jim McLean had a famous book. Every coach has gone down that rabbit hole of talking about quick fixes versus being a developmental coach that
right,
develops players from the grip to the proper setup and stance and takeaway and backswing and transition, all that stuff. But honestly, like the player that you just described, the 65-year-old player that needs maybe a little bit more range of motion, but doesn't really have that range of motion. There's some quick fix things that you can do that cleans up the setup, like
right,
flaring of the trail foot. So, for instance, if you were to take your trail right foot as a right-handed golfer, and you were to flare it out 20 degrees, well, that's going to increase the hip rotation
right,
capability, which is going to have a direct impact on what the torso does.
right,
So, going down a different rabbit hole, say you get a player that, once again, is standing over a golf ball and can't position their eyes over the ball. Well, let's get the putter shaft longer and let's get that player to stand closer so their eyes can connect with the line that they're looking down. So, there's so many different ways to clean up a player's ability to do something better, especially as they get older and less flexible and they're maybe a little bit more limited with some of the things that they're challenged with. So, yeah, but again, some coaches are going to stick to the system and some coaches are going to stick to forcing a player into a certain movement. And that word is a very good opportunity to injure a golfer, an athlete, a player.
yeah,
And, you can't take a 65-year-old and get them to make a 75 or 90-degree shoulder turn with the feet forward and the left foot flared out. So you've got to have a lot of flexibility and creativity in this game to be able to play at a very late age and continue to make sure that you don't put yourself in a position where you injure yourself. So creativity, flexibility from a coach, an open mind for a player coming in, being able to understand, hey, you know what, like I'm going to have to make some sacrifices to be able to make a bigger turn and create more speed. And a lot of that just takes the willingness of the mindset and
sure.
then a little bit of hard work. At the end of the day,
Yeah.
a little bit of hard work goes a long way.
But you're not going to see me doing yoga, Sean. I'll tell you that. We're going to take a break, and Sean and I'll be back here on Grilling at the Green in just a minute. Stay with us. Welcome back to Grilling at the Green. I'm JT. Don't forget North Valley Challenge, northvalleychallenge.com. We've got our second event coming up this next week on the 29th. You can still sign up. It's free. There's still slots available, not for next week. They've been sold out for a while. That's at the Tualatin Country Club. But for if you live in the local area at Chehalem Glen and or Willamette Valley Country Club, those two events, it's all the information you need is right there on the North Valley Challenge. So we're talking with Sean Lanyi, PGA professional, busy guy like that. You know, how do you manage expectations? That's always a question that I hear too, Sean.
Yeah.
We talked about it. I said, 65 and over, it can be 55 and over. But one of the key things you said earlier in the earlier segment was you're not trying to make these players a tour level player. And sometimes I think we get lost in the minutia of that out there with everything that, well, it's not just golf, it's everything these days.
Right.
If you want to be fit, drink this supplement. If you want to run faster, buy these tennis shoes, whatever. And that's just marketing. That's what we do.
Yeah.
But also I think players themselves have to have realistic expectations, and most people do. They know
Right.
where they can hit it. They know that their comfortable drive is 250 or whatever it is. It doesn't matter the number, but how as a coach do you manage those expectations? And then on the flip side of that, how do you manage the part of the expectations that sometimes are not very realistic?
Yeah, it's a tough road to go down sometimes with a player where they'll have a day on the golf course and they step foot off the golf course and they're quite unhappy and their expectations were
Yeah,
not met. So, having unrealistic expectations may be probably one of the most common things that we'll see with players of all skill levels of all ages.
sure.
This morning, I driving in, I had a 10-minute phone call with a parent of a 14-year-old that is a very talented player in Southern California. And the father's walking along, talking to me on the phone while he's watching his son compete in a golf tournament, telling me all about the good, the bad, and the ugly. And I think that puts a little bit extra pressure on the player because I know the player is aware of that at one way, shape, or form.
Sure.
That dad is maybe putting a little bit more, heightened awareness or increasing the level of expectations on his performance. So, it's going to change from every situation. Every player is going to be different. But to be able to slow the player down and to get them to focus on the process, and the process is very, very simple. It is the lie, the shot, the environment, what club they're going to select, the practice swing, the slowing down the breathing, the visualization, and then the walking into the shot, hitting the shot. So you can't really control much of the outcome. I mean, you can't control anything in regards to the outcome. That's
Yeah.
completely out of the player's hands. But the players that probably get a little too far fetched with the expectations and the goals and the dreams, I think those players probably have a little bit too much of the outcome realized already before they really walk into a golf shot and they prepare themselves for what they're trying to do. So, to answer your question, I really do just simply try to slow players down. I slow players down, not in the process of walking slow and talking slow and all that stuff, but I want them right when they get to their shot. I want everything right there to just go into a pattern and a flow state where they can actually really get themselves into a controllable environment. They can do things in a systematic way. So, they're going to grab their club. They're going to look at the wind. They're going to look at the lie. They're going to look at the shot length. They're going to determine what club that they have to hit the shot at. They'll breathe a little bit, smell the roses, blow out the candle, and then they'll take some practice swings. And then they'll kind of secretly walk up and sneak up to the ball and set the face next to the ball and observe the target with their eyes and then bring their eyes back and then hit the shot. So a lot of players, they just grab the club, they look at the yardage, they walk up and hit it. And it's kind of like cluelessly going about their business. And I think, that player is already, they're just trying to get the shot over with so that they can see the outcome. So it's just, in reality, I think the expectations are always going to change for players. Players have to understand stats and data, but in a simple way for the simple minded golfer, just get up to the ball, do your homework, maybe focus on a little bit of breathing processes, and then slowly walk up to the ball and fixate your eyes on your target, and then bring your eyes back and give it your best.
It never goes anywhere if you don't hit it.
Right?
That's kind of the key
Yeah.
to me. And I've been around some players, Sean, that you could read the first four chapters of War and Peace as they're going through their shot routine,
Oh yeah.
like that. And it's like, okay, all right, you've done 45 seconds of this.
Yeah.
Let's keep moving.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
Yeah. We're
it,
looking for efficiency. That's for sure.
efficiency. Yeah, I played with a guy last year, very nice man. just to give you an example of that, he had obviously he'd had some lessons. He had watched a ton of videos. He probably had a dozen or more golf books on his nightstand, and he would kind of walk behind the ball and look down the fairway and okay, and then he'd walk over and he'd take two or three or five practice swings. Okay. And then he'd go up and kind of address the ball and he'd kind of adjust his stance. I'm with you so far. And he'd do a couple waggles and then he'd back off and do the whole damn thing over again.
Oh, wow.
And that wasn't just
Painful.
yeah, that wasn't just on one tee shot or one shot from the fairway. It was at least once, if not twice, on every hole. You know, we had to get the EMTs out there to resuscitate a couple guys because
Yeah. I,
they fell asleep. I thought they expired.
I could only imagine.
That was very, very difficult. So when you go through this process, and especially the breathing and all that, which is very important, and I understand that, but how do you communicate that? Instead of just saying slow down your breathing, do you go slow down your breathing because this will have a positive effect on this or that or whatever the point is that
Yeah.
it's doing?
I mean, a lot of the times I'm gonna show a player. I'm gonna demonstrate to a player exactly the 16 seconds that it takes for me to decide on my club that I'm gonna choose to hit a shot. I'm gonna show them through my example of facing the target, breathing through my nose, exhaling through my mouth in a very slow fashion, and then I'm going to walk into the shot. Now, all of that I just said takes roughly 6 seconds. And then I'll have 10 seconds to walk into the shot, setting the face, taking my head, taking my chin, observing my eyes at the line or my spot or my target, whatever that may be, and
Right.
then return my eyes to the ball. And I may do that look one more time, but that literally takes 16 seconds. So the player that one shot, it takes them 32 seconds. The next shot, it takes them 8 seconds and then 22 seconds. That player is wildly inconsistent with their process. And we just saw Wyndham Clark the other day. Every single time that his caddy said anything to him, he said, stick with your process. And so he had his way of handling the shots. He had three
Mm.
looks after his practice swing, and then he would return his eyes from the target to the ball, and then he'd give himself a confident look at the ball, and then he'd start his motion. And I guarantee you that amount of time that Wyndham Clark took for every single shot really was probably about 2 or 3 seconds off every single time. There was never a shot or a moment where he spent more time than the previous shot. So I would say he probably was over the ball. He was probably around like 12 to 14 seconds from what I could tell.
Yeah.
And he was bulletproof. And when he made mistakes, he made mistakes. Everybody makes mistakes. He accepted the fact that he was going to make mistakes. That's having realistic expectations. Back to being the highest level tour player, you've got to have those expectations in check. So, coaching examples, again, if I'm coaching an 8-year-old or a 65-year-old, I'm still going to show that player exactly what I want them to look at. We're going to film them doing it, and we're going to study what they currently do. We're going to watch what they do. That's right or wrong, but we're going to be able to actually like look at a TV and a monitor and actually take into consideration. You just stood over the ball for 32 seconds and hit a 40-yard slice. I mean, 32 seconds, that's a lot of time, especially if you're doing that 104 times during the course of a round of golf.
Yeah.
But if I can get that player to go from 34 seconds to 18 seconds, and that 104 turns into an immediate 92, I guarantee you we're on to something. That player is
Yep.
doing much less processing and much less thinking over the golf ball, and they're in a state of reacting to the target. So they're caught up in their process, which essentially is the amount of time it takes to hit a golf shot. And I mean, if you just do this yourself, Jeff, next time you stand over the golf ball, think about when the club's next to the ball, the stopwatch starts. Just think, how long does it take for you to get comfortable and ready? Okay, club's next to the ball, hands and eyes are all set. And next thing you know, it's 22 seconds. I mean, in reality, we probably want less than like 12 to 14 for most players.
Sure.
And if you're anywhere in the 20, 30, 40-second range, whoever you are, there is a ton of processing in that computer of yours, in the head of yours. And so we got to clean that up, and we got to speed that process up.
Yep. Speaking of speeding up in seconds, we're going to take another break. We're going to be back with Sean Lanyi right after this. Don't go away. Welcome back to Grilling at the Green. I'm JT. We're with Sean Lanyi today. 18 shots golf all over the West Coast and Hawaii. I'm jealous on the Hawaii gig, buddy. Yeah. Don't gloat. Don't gloat.
Sorry.
On there. You were talking about the process in the last segment. I'm actually a fairly fast player, and the guys I play with are pretty fast because we'll razz each other and say, we're trying to make it home for dinner type thing.
Right.
That. But, that kind of correlates too with people get grumpy sometimes on the course because you are slow, you catch up, they want to move the play along. I understand all that, but then we go back to we want to grow the game. To me, they're directly correlated. And so you've got first time players out there who are unsure.
Right.
But they've got to get that experience or they're not going to get any better and they're not going to enjoy the game anymore
Right.
unless they can do that. So when you're coaching them, when you're explaining this to them, and I know if you go out in a playing lesson on a course and you can, you clip along, always mention things like you want to keep going, in a timely manner. But to me, that's kind of a oxymoron sometimes that we get in this game that, they want to, and I've harped on it before, folks. I don't need any more emails, but it's like grow the game, get more people, do all this, but just play fast. I think that's quite a conundrum sometimes.
Yeah. I mean, you hit it on the head. I mean, the game of golf is healthy for sure. It's the healthiest the game of golf has ever been. It's probably going back to the days where the game is maybe at the level where it's meant for people with some money right now,
Yeah.
unfortunately. And fortunately, there's golf courses out there that are actually still very affordable for the non one percenters. But you go play these extravagant places like Pebble Beach and TPC properties, you're paying $600-700 for a round of golf. So, just going back, like, it's just a matter of embracing everything and enjoying what you have and taking advantage of as ironically as it is, Trails End Golf Center many years ago was kind of a unforgotten, kind of less desirable driving range. Golf balls were terrible, mats were terrible, technology didn't exist.
Right.
The staff was unfriendly. Now we've got a group of people in here that run this place. We've got unique training opportunities. We've got a few coaches that are fantastic. And we've got this in an environment, and it literally, I call this the tin cup driving range. It's a feel that I had when I first walked in here, the targets, the technologies, everything was just very, very, it was very blue collar clientele, very hardworking people as our clients down here. But it's a special place, and it's a fun place to call home. And we've got all the different bells and whistles for all the different types of golfers out there. So, I think, folks just have to take advantage of the resources that they have wherever they're at in the world playing
Well,
golf.
Sean, I used to live out there, and a long, long time ago, that was a landfill.
Right.
And if you look beyond the driving range and stuff between the driving range and Home Depot, you can still see the vents in the ground letting out the methane from the stuff underneath there.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, yeah, but they made good use of it.
Yeah.
They fixed it and they put that driving range in there, and
Yeah.
I went and hit balls there many times when I lived out in that neck of the woods.
Yeah.
So
Cool.
it's kind of a cool place, and congratulations to you for building something there.
Yeah, and it's taken a while, but at the end of the summer, going into certainly the fall, that's when This place, we're going to be hosting a big grand opening, and it's going to be
Yeah.
a grand opening not just for what I do, but for kind of the growth, the next step for what we're going to be offering clients in the kind of the southeast part of Portland. But I also have Creekside Golf Club, and I've got Elk Ridge that are local spots for my on-course playing lessons, mini golf schools, things like that. So those two
Yeah.
facilities are fantastic supporters of my coaching as well.
Well, excellent. Tell people where they can find you. Sean is going to stick around for after hours. It's going to be a bit of an abbreviated after hours, but that's okay because
Yes.
I haven't abused him in a while. But how can they find you?
So SeanLannyGolf.com or 18shots.com. You
Okay.
can find all my information there. I've got actually unique technology. Sir Nick Faldo answers all my phone calls.
I
So you
saw
can
that.
actually call the number on the upper left portion of the screen and talk directly to Sir Nick Faldo. Pretty sweet. He's right there in my back pocket.
Is he going to do like the thing like Get Smart used to, but he's going to take off his Squares golf shoes and go, "This is Sir Nick."
Yeah, he literally does that. I mean, if you want to ask him anything about golf, anything about my business, he's going to answer any and all questions. It's pretty fantastic.
There you go. Sean Lanny, 18 shots in that. Sean, thank you again for being on the show.
Pleasure.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, Jeff.
No problem. We're going to get out of here, but Sean is going to stick around for after hours. And if you've noticed, we've been dropping videos now, working with a new company, and we've been dropping reels and that. We didn't do that for a long time. So yeah, it's out there. If you're on LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, all that. So if you like us, give us a follow. Till next time, go out, play some golf, have some fun, but most of all, be kind. Take care, everybody.